Welcome to Bruno's Geek Reviews. I am with my friend Vivian, and so Vivian and I, when She-Ra started on Netflix, we just basically texted each other every day about the episodes as we watched it. We're really excited. And then when Masters of the Universe came, I also let her know like, oh, there's another thing. It's not in the same canon, but it's the same origin of the material, and I was really excited. So we're doing a two-part video, or two-part series.
Two-part series, yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna do She-Ra in this video and Masters of the Universe Revelation in the next one. Sorry, She-Ra Princesses of Power in this one, and Masters of the Universe Revelations in the other one. So we're not doing the classic shows. We probably won't broach too much into the classic shows because I was really young when they came out, and I'll get into that. And
I have never seen them.
There you go. So you're coming at it from the perspective of someone who watched He-Man when he was like 4 or 5 and remembers clearly He-Man, but not all of the universe, and then Vivian, who never saw the classic ones. So this is, just so everyone knows, we're not pretending to be like these longtime fans who have deep-rooted opinions from decades of loving the material. I've always had a place in my heart for He-Man, but I was never like the lore master of it.
I knew him from the memes.
Okay, so let's, I don't know, how do we have planned like nothing at all. We're just going to talk about the show. So we're going to start with She-Ra, Princesses of Power, and Vivian. Maybe we can like go through the characters, perhaps.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and then kind of give her summary of the show, what we felt. So I'm just gonna go like first of all, and I'm gonna let you go first on all of them because I'll let you do the hard work of introducing like the first opinion. Okay, so main character, She-Ra. Let's start with She-Ra. As a character, what did you think of her in this show?
So I love Adora. I'm a fan of sort of the kind, dumb, strong characters, and she's really that. She's too dumb to be evil in a way, and I really appreciate that. And I appreciate that she sees, like, when she goes through and she finds a sort of power and she finds out that there's a different way of doing things, and it's like, maybe we are the bad guys with the skull motif, you know? Like, and she changes who she is. And she tries to get her friends in the Horde to come with her and to like de-radicalize them and stuff like that, and I appreciate that. I really like Adora. She's not my favorite character in the series, but I think she's a very solid main character.
Yeah. You know what? I never realized that she's not the smartest. Like sometimes they make jokes about that, but it wasn't like with Goku in Dragon Ball, where it's like
Goku's like a whole different level.
I know, but what I meant is when they made jokes about that, it never occurred to me that it's true. Like Adora is not the smartest.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess in D&D terms, like she maybe has like a 8 or 9 in intelligence. Like it's nothing drastic, but it might be a penalty, but nothing. But then again, like I feel like there's moments where they show her being like a good strategist.
Yes, she 100% has strategy down because she grew up in the military environment. She was like raised to be a captain, right?
So that would be the skill ranks
commander
coming in. Yeah. Okay. The training. Yeah, that's true. You can. Yeah, it's like in that. Oh wow, what's the movie? Jack Reacher movies, like where in the first one, like as portrayed by Tom Cruise, of course, because when you have a character who in the books is 6 feet something and just a pile of muscle, you want to go with Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
And he mentions that a certain how do you put it, like a certain carefulness or strategy can be instilled in soldiers, something like that. So like there's ways to do that for sure. You know, as you talk right away, like we get into the radicalization, and I don't want to get too much into it, but I guess it deserves saying that, you know what I find kind of funny in this day and age is that when you look at She-Ra or Adora, she's definitely kind of character who starts off in a place of ignorance and prejudice and then transforms into, not just into She-Ra, but into a hero and a positive character. And it's kind of funny how I noticed that online, I'm just going to say online, this vague online, you know, Twitter, whatever you have it, there's very little space for forgiving what people did in the past, for letting them grow beyond who they were, like and so it's kind of interesting how, however, these characters, like, and we're gonna get into Catra because I have opinions on Catra, but it's kind of interesting how these characters are so adored by a lot of people online, and yet they're very often you'll see like it's like redemption is this thing that's really cool in fictional stories, but there's no room for it in real life. And I don't know, I didn't expect to go there, but as you mentioned, like she was a radicalized character.
Yeah.
And that's not like she went to battle against the people she ends up helping. So there's a like, I don't want to reach too far into this cartoon because also like there's other stuff to discuss, and I don't want to make the video about it. But I think there's something interesting into thinking. Like I kind of forgot that she does start as a bad guy.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to name any real life analogies or anything like that, but if you do, there's really something to explore there. And what I appreciate about She-Ra is that as a main character, now you pointed out the funny, like, oh, she's not the brightest. And but at the same time, I feel like what I liked in the writing is that she's super strong and all that, but at the same time, not always. Like she needs the sword.
Oh, yeah.
But this is a character that, if like, as I watched the show, I could see where the flaws were in the character. And when I say flaws, I don't necessarily mean flaws as a person, but just, let's say, the vulnerabilities as well, or like as a character, because every character should have some. And so, and I like also that it's not like in the first episode, this is her past, and then, oh, she's a hero.
Fixed and moved on.
Yeah. They really address it through the show. That this is something she's dealing with. And when you look at it, it makes for a very interesting story, I think. And I didn't come into this thinking about it. You just mentioned this and made me think. I think for anyone in real life, and maybe this is a bit deeper than I should make it, but who in the past has had maybe opinions they shouldn't have or behaviors they shouldn't have, it's kind of interesting as a show, maybe, when you think about it, to have a character who goes through the same thing.
Yeah. Well, people love redemption in fiction especially, and because it's easier to, I think, see that in fiction and to forgive in fiction because you're not like personally affected by it. And I do think forgiving and working together and accepting people's growth is important, because if people didn't grow, we would all be babies, Like if we didn't learn new things, if we weren't able to take the next step, we would still be children.
Yeah. And it's just weird because you have sometimes you see someone, I'm not going to give any specific examples because I don't feel, first of all, I want to date the video, and also like sometimes you give a specific example and then the whole debate starts on that one thing and the whole point is lost. But you see like people trying to do something good, and then people are going to dig up a mistake from the past, where not to mean it wasn't a mistake and it wasn't bad. Like you always have to address your past mistakes, but it's like, do you really want to cancel this good thing now because of something that happened before? And that's up to people to discuss. And I think the answer cannot be the same for everything, for sure. But I think right away, when you look at what they did with She-Ra from the start, they didn't shy away from this whole idea that she was in a radicalized environment before.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen the show, like we finished the show when we saw them as it came out. So we're coming into this way after. And that's very true. And I mean, you said that, and it strikes true. I'm like, that was kind of really deep about the show, right? And
I think also because like there are spoilers, other characters.
Spoilers everywhere. This is spoilers. There's gonna be spoilers everywhere.
Like Hordak also is like de-radicalized at the end, but and like the quotation
because Catra and Hordak and She-Ra and Adora, Catra and Hordak have their redemption arcs, which are handled at different levels, I would say.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I'm going for. Like, I feel like it's easier to empathize with Adora because we don't see her do as much shitty stuff. Like, she's essentially able to leave when she becomes an adult. Like, her coming of age story is leaving this cult almost. Yes. Whereas the other people are still in it and are going deeper and deeper and deeper. And
100% a cult. 100%.
Yeah. So it's like, at what point how much bad things can someone do before they can or cannot be redeemed? And I think that sort of plays into this as well, because like Catra has definitely done. Catra almost destroyed.
Let's talk about Catra. Let's
talk
because
about
okay, yeah, because as I say that, did you feel like Catra? Okay, I'm gonna use some words that might not be like what I should say, but I'm just gonna say it like this. Do you think she deserved her redemption in the end?
100%. I think I am pro Catra redemption. I think there could have been a couple more episodes on it.
Yes.
But this is one of those things that it's like you're constrained in the amount of time you have to tell the story, and you have to finish the overarching story. So I feel like Catra's redemption arc was a little rushed, but mainly because they had to focus on the overarching plot to finish it up and wrap it up.
Yeah, Catra, and this is kind of funny. So this is something that doesn't apply to me at all. So maybe I'm gonna get it way off. And you know what? I invite you to correct me if.
I will.
Okay. Yeah, I know you will. Yeah, I know you'll keep me honest. So the thing about Catra, that I look at it and it kind of bugs me, is that now let me finish, because some people are going to start at the beginning. Are going to hear the beginning of my sentence. They're going to think I'm going to say something I'm not going to say. Wait for the end. So Catra and Adora, it turns out, becomes a gay relationship. So, and it starts being hinted at really early, like when Catra's wearing a suit and they're dancing, and I was like, I didn't think they'd have the courage to actually go for it. And speaking of courage, we're gonna get to another character later on. That apparently the creators went to do something and they couldn't. But okay, one thing at a time. So the fact that they did, and not just like I never watched Korra or whatever the Avatar sequel was, but I know that when they do it, it's like literally the last episode. I think they confirm it only at the last episode,
and it's not even confirmed. They hold hands. It's confirmed in the comics after the show.
Oh yeah, so they chickened out. Yeah.
Well, so it's a little bit more. They really tried to get it in. But
I'm not bashing the creators. Yeah. I'm saying the studios or the producer. Whatever.
I agree with that. Yeah.
And with She-Ra, they didn't. I don't feel like they did. I feel like they went for it.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Well,
I'm kind of leaning on your opinion here. Go ahead, please.
Well, Noelle Stevenson, when she went in, was explicit in like, if you want me to take on this project, it's going to be gay. Like, look at my previous works; they all have gay relationships in it. That's where my fan base is. You want to bring my name? You want to bring my fan base? I'm going to make it gay. And she had leeway because the first couple seasons were successful to be like canon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's where I'm coming at it, where now I have something to say that I'm going to lean on you a lot for this. Could it be that and look, like, I think anyone who knows who I am, like, it's not like I'm trying to go for a PC stuff to say. This is coming from a legit place. I'm not trying to create anything, like that wasn't there in my opinions, because when we get to Revelations, like stuff I'm going to say here, you might get very different opinions of me in the Revelations. So, like, I'm not trying to please anyone when I say this. Okay, I really legit think it. In a world where gay representation, and I'm straight, so this is where my opinion is coming from as a cis-het straight guy, and all that. So again, like I don't know, maybe I have like blinders on, but it seems to me like there's not a lot of gay representation in unless you go for really adult entertainment. So then you see like this show where it's more normalized and it's not like this rated R stuff. So it's more accessible to many people, especially younger queer folk. Not having a lot of those kinds of relationships in fiction for younger ages to go to, what do you make of the fact that one of the only ones they have would be Adora and Catra, specifically with Catra's behavior? And kind of like rewarding having stuck with a toxic person.
Yeah. Listen, if I'm would I prefer if there was more gay rep? obviously I would prefer if there was more gay rep. Like.
But yeah. But acknowledging there's not a lot. That my point is more. I don't even want to like. I'm not getting into like. I'm not trying to make like a statement. Oh, there should be more. Yeah, they should be. But it's not even where I'm going. What I mean is because there's not a lot. Yeah. What do we make of the fact? And I don't mean that an author should be beholden to the fact of what's out there or not. I think they should tell the stories they want to tell. So I'm not trashing on Noelle at all for this. I'm just saying, is it a kind of a problem that a toxic person like Catra, Adora kind of sticks with her till the end, and she's rewarded with this good version of Catra? What do you make of that?
I think it's fine just because, like, give me a second to think about this.
Could it be that like a young queer person with no representation whatsoever out there, and then they watch this show and then they meet maybe the wrong person for them, and the person is shady and toxic, and they're like, well, it worked for Adora, you know?
And that's fair, and I feel like that is an issue, and that's an issue in just like the romance genre in general, like not just.
Take your word for it.
Yeah, like I read way too many otome isekais. It's fine. Yeah, okay.
Let us know in the comments what that means.
And like being in what rating for swearing and stuff are we?
You know what? If YouTube goes, we're gonna. I mean, first of all, I don't think anyone will notice. I don't think I have enough viewers. But if it comes to that, that would be the kind of thing where I'd be like, you know what? I'll go on Odyssey, where they have no. And yeah, I know that some unsavory people are there, but they do zero censorship. So if YouTube is like, you know, you can swear. I don't know if we can or not, but let's just swear. And if something happens to this video, I'll just start uploading videos on the other side. I don't care.
So there's a trope in trashy romance called the magic dick, the magic pussy, and it's where, you know, there's the troubled male lead who's brooding and has pets, and rather than going to therapy and fixing their own problem, they get better because they have sex with the main character. This is like a very common thing in a lot of romance. And it's obviously really problematic.
Yeah, because like if you didn't fix yourself, then that person
sex won't fix
is going to have to deal with that too. So. Yeah.
And I do feel like that's sort of populated in a lot of romance tropes and stuff like that. So it's a problem, but I don't necessarily think it's a problem because they're gay. Like that's a problem in the relationship and they're gay, if that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. And you know, like I can't believe, even I can believe I'm the one bringing this argument in a way, because I always roll my eyes when people are trying to nitpick something through the lens of, oh, is this problematic? And I'm always the one who's like, oh, just let others do their thing, you know, like, and you know, you can pick apart anything and make anything problematic if you're really motivated to, and that's where I'm coming from at it. Like, you know, I have my own view of things, but so that's why it was kind of like this whole build up. I over-explain myself to mean it's not even my style to normally go for that kind of argument, but it really struck me. And I understand what you mean. In a way, it's like, look, everything should be treated on its own, and it shouldn't be a factor whether it's queer love or straight love or whatever. But at the same time, like I was just thinking, like if there's no representation out there, and this is the only example a young person can have, without going to like rated R stuff or whatever, and maybe I'm missing. Maybe I'm completely like. Maybe you're gonna tell me, Bruno, there's so much stuff out there. Actually,
there is actually like we're sort of in like a renaissance of gay media representation, which is like, thank God. Finally took too fucking long, but we're there.
No, I didn't know. Sorry.
And this is what went to my point before. It was, I wish that there was a couple more episodes on her redemption arc.
Yes.
Because I think if they showed her working on it more, because they show her like starting to work on it and starting to internalize everything and being like a little bit. They showed her at the beginning of her self-reflection.
Yeah.
But then she didn't have time to like fully flesh it out to get to the end.
Yeah.
So I feel like they could have done it so that she worked on herself before she got with Adora a little bit. And I wish they had, but Yeah.
Because the thing is that, if I remember correctly, like we have some time in between the seasons, but if you're watching the show, if you come into the show and you watch it, you go from one season to the other. At the end of the previous season, I wanted Catra dead.
Oh yeah.
And like the queen dies because of her, right? If I remember correctly,
I mean,
it's been a while.
She's not dead. She's just eternally trapped in the vortex, holding the universe together.
Of course, the same. No, okay, no, I'm not going to get into revelations. Yeah, so it's especially when you consider the way the show is going to be consumed going forward, where people get into it or just going to watch it. Like you go from that to the redemption, and that doesn't work. It just doesn't. Like the only way it works is when you have time in between seasons and people kind of have this time to they themselves. You know, like it's kind of the same way where look at Batman. Like maybe it feels like or any character. I guess I was thinking about that the other day, like the comparison where they say a character is played by different characters, not necessarily Batman, but it's possible that someone does more stuff in a short amount of time, either to a TV series or just more sequels, and then someone else does less but over more years. And in the minds of people, the person who's been there the longest in amount of years feels like there've been more of that character, even though the other person did more stuff. For example. So so that time in between seasons, I don't know if creators keep it in mind. I don't know if when they go to the next season, they know that even though in the story it's right after, people have this time to maybe unwind. But when you watch it, like when you binge it, I was looking for the word. It's like you go from wanting Catra dead to like the redemption. I'm not sure that's gonna work.
That's fair. I haven't I haven't rewatched it since it came out, so it's very possible that yeah, you're right. There was that gap to sort of like internalize things and process what had happened, all of that. And yeah, I imagine it would be kind of jarring to go from Catra being the most hated person to having messed with Scorpia. You know, like who Scorpia is.
The way she treated Scorpia, that's okay. We're gonna get into Scorpia next. I think she okay. Well, one character at a time. She might be her favorite. I'm not sure, but yeah. The thing about Catra, also, what I didn't like about her redemption is, to me, I like when a redemption comes from the character that needs redemption. I don't like it when it's handed over and over and over again by other people, because then it's kind of like if you make the redemption easy, the person would never have done it on their own. And that to me is significant.
That's fair, yeah.
You know?
And so, I agree with that. I feel like Catra's redemption, she didn't have a choice in the redemption.
Yeah.
Because she was like trapped on the spaceship and it's just like, fuck.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like, well, she's not on Hordak's side anymore, is she? Or Horde Prime. Yeah. So I just don't like it. I feel like a redemption, you know what a good redemption is? Darth Vader. That guy had everything to lose in helping Luke Skywalker. Yeah. Like he was still like, yeah, the Emperor tried to fuck him over, like, oh, Luke, come take his place, but then that didn't turn out. So like, basically, if Darth Vader just chills, he continues to be like the second most powerful guy in the galaxy. And he, well, that story ends in death, which a redemption doesn't need to, but you know, that's a story where you're like, yeah, Darth Vader had everything to lose in becoming a good guy. Catra, you just pointed it out, and that's something that also, I guess, bugged me, because as soon as you said it, I was like, yeah, but I didn't put it into words. It's like, at that point, why wouldn't she join the good guys? And,
yeah, she had nothing to lose.
And that thing I hate about her is something in Revelations I might have liked about another character, the pragmatism of it, but it also came from a different place. So it's hard not to make parallels. I think the parallels should be said for episode 2, I guess. Yeah, so I don't know. Catra is like this character that I liked how they used her in the voice acting, and at the end, when I watched the show, I was just so happy to be watching something MOTU, Master of the Universe related, that I kind of went along with it. But as I kind of digested it after, it kind of bothered me, because again, like as a very young kid, I love Master of the Universe stuff, He-Man stuff, and just a quick side note, for me, She-Ra, I always had this fascination with the She-Ra universe, because I knew very little about it. What happened is I lived in Spain, and from a business trip, my dad had bought a He-Man She-Ra, basically a She-Ra pilot episode where there's an actual crossover with He-Man and She-Ra when they introduced She-Ra, basically. And that was a video from the UK. And so in the VHS player in Spain, it kind of like went black and white sometimes. It was kind of jumpy. So it was like this very like, you really had to want to get into it, right? And I was fascinated by the idea, oh, he has a sister. And you know, when He-Man cries at the end, you know that it became a meme, like the gif of the one tear.
Yeah.
That's when He-Man says goodbye to Adora, to She-Ra.
That's tragic.
So to me, I'm like, He-Man just cried like that. So you know, these days the stakes, like the modern writing and the stakes and all that, but back then that meant a lot. The fact that He-Man shed a tear, and back in those cartoons, and like that meant a lot. And so to me, like it's kind of like as a kid, my mind was blown that that character just cried over, and he had just lost his sister in a way. And so I was always fascinated with the universe of She-Ra. And I remember in school, this girl had some She-Ra figurines, and I was like, oh, like I was looking from afar, you know. So it was kind of cool to have this show come in. It was Master of the Universe related, and so I always had a special place in my heart for like He-Man and Master of the Universe stuff, and She-Ra was this like unknown element that I always had this fascination for, like this hidden corner of the universe that I never get to enjoy. And apparently, the original show, the writing was a bit more mature than the He-Man show. Like by then, the writers were allowed to do a bit more with it. So it's almost like this. It kind of makes sense that in a way that She-Ra apparently was the first one to come back in modern times, in the sense that she apparently she had the show where the writing was a bit more more stakes. Or apparently, I haven't seen it. But okay, I guess let's. Do you want to go? I have here the list, and I have a certain order list. So if you don't, do not get confused. If you don't mind not doing Scorpio right away, I have Entrapta next.
Go listen. I love all of the characters, so I can talk about all of the characters.
Okay.
Entrapta is. There's a couple of morally great characters in here, and Entrapta is definitely one of them.
Yeah.
I think an excellent example of a lawful neutral character, or maybe chaotic neutral.
Yeah, maybe chaotic or pure neutral, maybe even.
Maybe even pure neutral, yeah.
Because I don't know if she was chaotic, because I know that she had a chaotic personality, but like I would argue that you could guess what her interests were and what she was going to do.
That's true. Yeah,
like
she had a set of
neutral
rules.
To me, someone who's going to do very random stuff like Jack Sparrow. You know, he's chaotic neutral. But Entrapta, even though her personality was chaotic in that her energy and her way of communicating, I feel like her motivations were not chaotic at all.
That's true. Tiny foods.
Sorry?
Tiny foods.
Tiny foods.
Yeah, that was her motivation. She loved tiny food.
Oh yeah, I forgot that. I just remember the machines.
Yes.
And yeah, so basically I forgot the tiny foods, but I remember like the machines. It's been a while, people.
That's fair.
So anyway, please go ahead, because I interrupted you about the whole alignment. It's always dangerous to bring alignment.
Always. Yeah, so she's this master engineer who they meet in her robot castle, where her robots have sort of gone haywire because she installed a virus accidentally. Always make sure to test USB keys on a computer that you don't need. And it sort of shows her like thirst for knowledge right there. And that works in sort of how she becomes part of the Horde afterwards. Like, I feel like her transition into villain is done incredibly well, where she gets left behind and then Catra emotionally manipulates her into joining the Horde. Yeah.
And the same way I would complain about Catra's redemption, I think how Entrapta joins the Horde is very well done.
Yeah.
And now here's the kicker. When Entrapta and Hordak started interacting, by all accounts of what I normally like and dislike, I should have hated Entrapta. I swear, I should have hated her, because nothing rubs me more the wrong way than having this jokey character undermining the serious villain character. For example, like if you have like you know, like Harley Quinn and Deadpool, or characters that I like overall, but I can sometimes hate.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Which is kind of why I never even saw the movie Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey, because I do not want to see Harley Quinn undermine the heroes there, like Black Canary and Huntress, and because you saw a trailer and you knew they were going trying to do Deadpool, and like she was going to undermine everyone. And also what they did with Cassandra Cain. Okay, getting off track here, but
I like the Harley Quinn movie.
You liked it?
I did.
Okay, I might give it a chance. We'll talk. Okay, we'll talk about it another time.
That's another.
Because Cassandra Cain, like, she's not like in the comics, is she? I saw a trailer and like.
Consider it like a different set.
Yeah, but to me, it's like, don't name her Cassandra Cain if you're gonna make her a chatty pickpocket instead of a person who's been trained to be an assassin since birth and can read body language as a way of communication that makes her the best fighter ever, even better than Batman. But whatever. No, make her a chatty pickpocket that who follows Harley Quinn around, whatever. Okay, no, my point is, I kind of hate when those characters undermine other characters. And to me, it's like, you want to make a character cool or quirky or whatever, like, never undermine other characters. And for example, in the Injustice comic written by Tom Taylor, you have an amazing interaction with Harley Quinn and Green Arrow. And Harley Quinn gets to be quirky, but it doesn't undermine Green Arrow. If anything, they both bounce off each other. It's amazing. And she's like criticizing everything about Green Arrow. She's like, "Why do you have a boxing glove arrow?" And he's like, "Well, have you ever really wanted to punch someone, but they were really far away?" And she's like, "Oh, that makes sense." And that you have, so there's ways to make the character can be quirky, annoying, and not respect others, but it doesn't undermine. So then Green Arrow has a reply, and it kind of like, oh, that works. And so there's ways to do that. And when she starts interacting with Hordak, I was ready to hate it, because like, no, come on, like, are you gonna tell me that this guy who is the boss, the big bad, and now like she's gonna kind of like make him look lame, you know? But then, and I can't explain it, but it did work.
Well, I think it's because she's like the only person that he views, at least, as equal intelligence. And she proves that to him, that, hey, I can be a partner in your science. Like, you are incredibly smart. And this is one of the things I like, is she's never like, oh, you didn't think of this one thing, like this one issue. Oh, like that would have been super obvious.
We'll talk about that in Revelations. Although, no, in Revelations it's not as bad, because it's like this, okay, whatever. But yeah, it's happened in stories that you prove one is smart, they undermine the other character. Yeah.
And it's more like they have a collaborative method with each other, where they like can bounce ideas off. And because of the nature of Entrapta, when Hordak lashes out and is just like has a temper tantrum, she can kind of brush it off for the most part, because she's just like, oh yeah, that fucking sucks that your body's falling apart. Like, let me take a look. Let me try and fix it. Like, yeah.
It's true. Okay, Hordak. Okay, it's true. Hordak's body was falling apart in that version. It's I wonder if that was done on purpose, again, to have, because obviously in this show there's a lot of variety in the characters, right? And I never thought of it that, I wonder if in a way it was also like a decision to, in representation, you can also have in the villains, what if it's also like for people who have like physical struggles and things like that.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe I'm reaching now. Maybe it was just like they just wanted to give even the villain like a vulnerability, and then that could connect him to Entrapta. Maybe that's it.
Can be both.
Yeah, could be both. Yeah, it's true. I didn't make a lot of that fact, that he was like this flawed clone, and I didn't really think of that.
And because I feel like that gives him motivation as well, because like, why is he so obsessed with getting back to his homeworld? Because he's like literally dying. Like, yeah, he can clone himself, but every time he clones himself, the clone is a little bit more imperfect. It's like a little bit, it gives him a time frame where he has to succeed, or he will eventually die.
Yeah. It's I liked Hordak, but I was disappointed at the lack of Hordak in the last season. And then when it was a really good moment, like I had a name and all that, but then it's kind of like, so I don't remember who they see Hordak with Entrapta, and they're like, oh, I guess we'll just have to accept this. And I was like, should you though?
Yeah, do you? He was like
you have to accept it? Because Hordak did some really awful stuff, and the fact that he's in love with Entrapta, and that he like it doesn't make him a good person. And like that guy has tormented.
He literally tried to take over the world. Like, he's responsible for the deaths of thousands of people.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
So interesting. Which again kind of brings me to what I was saying about Ketra, actually. Because I'm a sucker for like the Dark Lord type. I think they're cool, you know. And I know these days like people are starting to consider problematic to even like evil characters, and like I think
that's bullshit. But yeah.
Yeah, fiction is fiction. Enjoy your fiction. Enjoy your characters you enjoy. You know, like, so I thought Hordak was like, I liked scenes with Hordak, but it's She-Ra's show, so at the end it's kind of like good versus evil, and
they do have a throwaway line of that in the end, which are they like, I forget which two characters it was, but they're like, are we just like, okay with this? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Are we just accepting that Hordak's here? Like, okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to make of it, because I understand that from a grand scheme of things, the bigger evil was Hordak Prime, so everyone comes together. But if Hordak Prime was there for like a second, Horde Prime, Hordak was there for generations. So to the people there, like, do I need to say what he represents in that world to a real life analog, or like
fascism?
Yeah, you know, like, yeah, let's just go. Let's stop at that. Let's stop at fascism. You know,
and like this is one of those things that I think could be interesting if they ever do like a movie or a second season or something, is like viewing that contention, because like not everyone is going to be a Dora who's just like the most accepting person of people in her past and stuff like that. Like Glimmer will 100% be punching Hordak every time she sees him.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Okay, moving to a Glimmer. I want to address something that will also come up in Revelations, and because we're doing two parts, I guess we'll address it then too. A lot was made of the physical change of the characters, and I think Glimmer is like the most like obvious case of they really changed how this character looks. Because in the old show, they all looked like the dolls, so they all look the same except accessories and hair. They all had the same face and body overall. So, you know, like She-Ra, Glimmer, like all of them had the same shape. So now you're doing a modern show, you can't do that. You can't do, because back then it was like, oh, the action figures look like this. It probably saves time on the animation, I don't know. But mostly you have to do it like the action figures. So for that show, and back then it made sense, but these days people expect characters to look more different. And I personally defend the choice to have different body types. I don't think it's...
it makes it more realistic.
Yeah, unless it undermines who the character is. Okay, so again, I'm not trying to be like PC when I say this. I just really mean it. Like, He-Man shouldn't be a skinny guy. You know, when He-Man turns to He-Man, he should be like this muscular.
I don't know. Adam's pretty skinny.
Well, okay, we'll get to that. But which isn't even something I mind, because, you know, how did people not see it before in the old one? So okay, let's get to that when we get to it. But okay, so you know, so She-Ra becomes this like giant when she transforms. Amazing, it makes lots of sense. I don't have an issue with it. Glimmer, you know, changes a lot, like the way she looks, and again, it's like, which character, like, for which character was it truly an essential part of the character how they looked back then, or was it because all the characters look the same? All the men were shaped the same, all the women were shaped the same. Like, it was just how it was. So to me, it's like, okay, if you're making a character where it's really relevant how they look to their concept, then maybe there's some preservation that needs to be there for how they look. But otherwise, if everyone looked the same, are you looking up how Glimmer used to look?
I am looking up how Glimmer used to look, and you know what?
What?
She still has, like, the color scheme is still there.
Yeah.
Even the outfit is like very similar. It's just like a modernized outfit.
Yeah.
They just made her a kid instead of an adult.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but any other character, and that goes for both shows, where yeah, they did change the shapes, and that's fine because you need to modernize it. And now, if I'm not gonna give examples, I don't want to go down there. But let's say I give She-Ra a shape that made no sense for She-Ra, and I don't even want to give examples. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. Like, just if they made a shape that made no sense for She-Ra, the fighting character, I would complain too.
Yeah.
I would jump into boiling water and put myself there to be like, that doesn't make sense, and then everyone will be like, oh, you're shaming whatever shape of people, you know, like, but I mean, no, it's She-Ra's not supposed to look like that, you know, like, I would go there, I would freaking go there, I don't mind. I really don't mind this, like, I think it's fine. I think characters can be all shaped the same. So,
and Glimmer's a sorcerer, like she can be a little more plump. She doesn't have to be physically active. She's just teleporting around all the time. Like,
yeah, exactly. If I were to teleport around all the time, like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Like, if I wasn't moving most of the time, forget it. I like to snack, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
like, I don't have to walk to the fridge. I can just teleport to the fridge. Like,
I'm 100% sure that's accidental, but the fact she's a bit pudgy and she can teleport, definitely I could see a link. Yeah. But yeah, I don't have an issue with it. I think, you know, I'm always stuck in between because there's moments when I think it's important to keep some things the same, and then there's other moments when it's just like, that didn't matter. That doesn't matter if you modernize it. It's actually better, you know. And the only reason why I emphasize so much in this video, like, you know, when I talk about these things, it's like people will always make an extreme of it. Like, you're woke or you're shaming these people. Like, it's always like the two extremes when you're trying to be in the middle and be like, it's a case-by-case thing.
It is.
And so the only reason I'm emphasizing so much, I'm not afraid of someone saying, oh, you're woke, whatever, think what you will of me, or it's just because I want the argument to stand on its side. I'm pretty sure you are. but it's just because I really want the argument to stand on its own. You know, I don't want people to dismiss the argument because they think like, oh, he's gonna think that of everything. No, I wouldn't think that on everything. I would jump into boiling oil if I need to say it. Yeah. But in this case, they all made sense to me. That none of them bothered me. None of them bothered me.
And like I didn't look at the old styles because, like, frankly, I watched the show for Noelle Stevenson, not for She-Ra, if that makes sense.
Understand? Yeah.
So I didn't bother looking at all the old designs and stuff like that because I knew that it was going to be like a remake, like a reboot with like a different story and all of that stuff. So I didn't want to get like involved with something else to be disappointed. But like, looking at the old Glimmer, I think she did a really good job of like the character design because they kept a lot of the aspects of the original Glimmer there.
You just have to change them. They can all look the same. They can't all be
clones. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just, you know, and some people are just, I'm always careful when I talk about these things because I think there is such a thing as a fan who just knew something for a long time a certain way. Mm-hmm. And to them, if you change it, it's no longer that. But then other times you're like, do you really care, or are you just bothered that someone else is gonna enjoy it in a way that you don't enjoy it? You know, like, but that's almost a conversation for another time. But I guess with this video, because as soon as we saw She-Ra initially, like, you know, like even I had when I saw the first version of She-Ra, I was like, well, is that gonna be the character? Like, and you don't see it in action. You just see this still, and then like she's wearing an armor, so like there's a lot of stuff where even I was like not sure, but then I saw it in action. I was like, no, okay, that works. That definitely works. And even Adora has a classic shape or look for whoever cares. And then she transforms into this like fighting humanoid, you know, like so yeah, like and I always, when I was younger, I was always the first one to complain when like a really skinny person was kicking ass. And I'm like, that wouldn't happen, you know. And I was like, so at least now, like a lot of people are complaining about female characters becoming more manly, you know. Like, but I'm like, no, like I watch MMA all the time. Like,
exactly, yeah. Like if they're fighters,
I know what a fighter looks like.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's like they're acting like adding a bit of muscle to a female character makes them like completely unfeminine, which I don't agree with. Because, and again, maybe it's the MMA fan in me talking, but like, you need muscle for fighting.
Yeah, that's just how fighting works.
Yes.
Like, that's basic physics.
Yeah.
Force is equal to mass times acceleration.
So it's like, okay, you know, if the character is like a magic user, like Grimmer, okay, then, you know, maybe that character doesn't make sense if you make that character muscular, but then you can have options of keeping her the same, doing what they did, whatever. Like, it just needs to make sense, and for sure it makes sense that. Okay, speaking of which, Scorpion. Speaking of this giant muscular character.
Yeah, Scorpia, dear to my heart.
Yeah, I felt for Scorpia a lot in this show.
Yeah. You know, I just want to say my one criticism.
Okay.
The last season.
Yeah.
She never says, we learned about that at Force Captain training. And I'm very sad about that because that was a running joke.
Oh my God. I didn't notice that. I didn't notice you didn't say it at the end.
Missed opportunity.
To me, the moment where Scorpia really clicked for me is that episode where her and Catra end up in the water, and Catra, I think, is ranting or something, and then Scorpia just picks her up and keeps swimming. And I was like, Scorpia is actually a really, hear it out, a really mentally tough character.
Oh, incredibly.
And people don't always know what to look for to determine mental toughness. So if you look at the character as Scorpia, who is very lonely and wants friends, and then people could jump to a conclusion that she's mentally weak because she's always like trying to make everyone happy and trying to appease everyone and accepting a lot of shit from other people. But then you also look at she's so, just to be someone you can rely on.
Yeah.
To be reliable is toughness. To not give up is toughness. You know, so of course that I think in a way the fact that she doesn't give up also makes her maybe put up with stuff she shouldn't. It's you know, like traits are a weakness and a strength sometimes at the same time. You know, like
definitely. And one of the things I like about her is the fact that they do show that she is a breaking point. Like eventually she is just like, I'm fed up of your bullshit.
And that felt so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, because it was Scorpia and because she's put up with so much stuff before and shown that she's resilient and will come back and does want the best for you, that scene hits harder.
Yes.
Because it's like, no, this is the last straw. Like, we're done.
And that buildup was amazing. And she's so dignified when she does it too. It's not even like she was, you know, like the way some characters are written when they finally reach a breaking point, like they take it too far.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that. Like they kept her. I find like Scorpia was like kept her dignity through the whole show. Whereas other characters, like there's moments when they hit the low. You know, like she obviously she's with the villains and all that. But I mean, beyond that, and I love how low key she points out she's a princess at some point.
Yeah.
Like she just drops it. Like, oh yeah, but didn't you know? When they go to the ball, that was funny. Like, and they have to invite. For being a princess, they have to accept her at the ball, and that was so funny.
Yeah.
Like she's just like so low key about it, and I was kind of like, oh, see that it's kind of interesting how, despite the war, like a princess is still a princess. You know, like you still have to respect
class solidarity among the rich.
Yeah, Shadow Weaver.
Shadow Weaver. That's oh boy. Shadow Weaver is a manipulating piece of shit. And I feel like it's the only character who doesn't actually get a redemption. Like, kind of at the end, but even at the end, she's like, Adora, give up on your love. Like, hate is the answer. Like, fuck Hatra. And like,
which she will. Okay.
And like even her final advice where she has the opportunity to actually sort of redeem herself, but I think she was kind of like past one word redemptions at that point. Doesn't.
I don't have much to add to that. The one thing I'll say is when you talk about manipulation and emotional manipulation, and then playing to people's empathy or any feelings of love they might have toward you. What I found amazing was like that character when she was struggling. For fuck's sake, I empathized.
Oh yeah.
And that to me is like, that's again amazing writing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck. Like, I'm trying not. I'm actively trying to not empathize with her.
Yeah.
And I do. So that it's kind of funny because that real life feeling to me reinforces how she did that to Catherine and Adora.
Oh, yeah. Especially like when you're children, you have no mental defenses.
Yeah.
Like, and just like, oh yeah, no, incredibly well written character.
Yeah.
Hate her.
And
which
yeah,
is the point.
And yet like the scenes she was in were good. And maybe the one part where it fell into deja vu and a bit of a, and this show did, I guess there's, yeah, there's like certainly aspects of the show which are traditional, but they always did it in a way where it didn't feel that way. And but one part where maybe I wasn't the biggest fan of is when Shadow Weaver is like manipulating Glimmer. It felt like Glimmer could have been a bit smarter about it.
Yeah, but like her mom had just died.
Yeah.
Right? Well, not died. Her mom had just and like I agree with you. I was like, well, one, I do remember the lighting in those shots were incredibly well done, where Shadow Weaver was in the dark and Glimmer was in the light, and then as she got in the deal, she went in the dark. It was very thematic and all of that stuff.
I missed that.
You don't like that, those thematic shots?
No, what I mean is I didn't notice.
Oh yeah, no, like that was good. But I agree. I'm like, you know who the fuck Shadow Weaver is.
Yeah.
You know what this means to Adora. Like, don't.
Yeah. But at the same time, I guess it was to reinforce that Shadow Weaver is that kind of person who can do that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Stuff. I just felt like it's not even that it was badly written. I just felt like we're going into stuff that so many stories have done before, where She-Ra always kind of find a way to, as a show, to do stuff that even if it was done before, it did it a different way.
Yeah.
Or at least it felt that way. I don't know if maybe if I were to start looking at the scenes piece by piece, I would kind of be like, oh, actually, yeah, but it feels at least like it wasn't deja vu, you know?
I do feel like, because they sort of like, she becomes Shadow Weaver's apprentice a little bit, but never really goes like dark Glimmer.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish that if they had started it, they would have like gone a little bit further. But instead, I feel like they started it and then she got taken out of it before it went too far.
That's true. So you're kind of like, what was the point of it?
Yeah, and I would have liked to see like dark.
Maybe maybe that's why I feel that way, because it's not even like it had a payoff. Yeah, good point. Very good point. Yeah, it didn't have a payoff. It just it's just like tropey, these tropey scenes that don't even have the payoff that you want in a tropey scene. And it becomes unsatisfying. Like it's, yeah, I think that's one part of the show. I'm like, what are we doing here? You know?
Yeah.
Okay, now you know what? I'm gonna, I guess I'm gonna bring them up together.
Okay.
Mermista and Seahawk.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mermista and Seahawk.
Yeah.
I love them both. They're bisexual disasters, and.
Is Seahawk bisexual? Are they both?
Like, okay, it's one of those things that they're not like canonically bisexual, but in the bar scene at the end where they're both like hitting on it, it's like kind of implied that.
Oh, okay, I missed it. Okay.
Like, it's fine. Like
I don't have the gaydar, so
I. But what I like is, I think if they were the main characters of the show, I would find them incredibly annoying. But they have the perfect amount of screen time that it's interesting and dynamic and it doesn't get tiring. And like I always enjoyed Seahawk and Mermista when they're there, but I don't think they have like a long-term like a lot of screen time.
Mhm.
You know, like, do you get where I'm going?
Yeah. Okay. So what I found out about Mermista is, again, we're gonna go into this where she's the kind of character I should have hated by all means. I should have hated her, because like the characters who don't care about anything, and we'll get to it into Revelations. But the type of character who doesn't care, and like I don't connect with these characters. And character can be heroic, villainous, somewhere in the middle. That just like they should care about something, or I'm not gonna care. Yeah. But then again, it's kind of like the show wasn't trying to portray that as something that was cool about Mermista. It portrayed it as a character flaw. Therefore, it worked. Because then I am interested in character flaws. So if you portray it properly, like the thing it is, and you don't try to make it cool, then it works. Now, Seahawk. And you know what? I can't believe we didn't discuss Bo yet, but we're gonna get to Bo as well. But because I was following this list that Google gave me, so Bo should have been in the very beginning as well with Glimmer and Sheeran.
Bo's one of the main characters. Like,
so yeah, that's a fail on my part. But what I liked about Seahawk. Okay, how can I put this? I'm just gonna go and say it. F it. Very often in female-led shows, so the male characters have kind of like these roles to play, right? The love interest, the problematic guy, and if you're a hero, male hero, you're gonna get knocked out by the main villain, so the female protagonist can. So when it's female-led, it's kind of like there's also this cathartic moment for the female audience to see something they wouldn't see in the other action stuff that's male-led, and make what you will of it. I, as a guy, even if people want to argue it's only fair that it happens sometimes because it never happens elsewhere. Okay, fine. But I kind of don't like it when like male characters are all fools. So I can't connect with that. Like, I'm sorry. Like, enjoy it if you want. I don't connect with that. So I freaking love Seahawk. And why? Why did I love Seahawk when he's clearly a fool? Because it was done lovingly. And it's so simple. Like, so often there's such contempt. Like, there are so many female-led projects where there's, and I don't know if I'm jumping into boiling waters here, where there is contempt for the male characters. Either because it's there in the writing, or because they think that's what's going to please the audience. And Seahawk is a fool, but you can clearly see there's love for that fool.
Yeah.
That character is sympathetic. And I love how Bo, as the other male character, looks at, and there's something to be said, and I actually appreciated how Bo is like this naive guy, and he sees this like boastful male figure who's older and boastful, and he's like, oh, that's a cool guy, I want to be like that. And that's what we guys do. Like, when we're young, we look at this like boastful guy, and then maybe when we get older, we're like, you know what, maybe he wasn't that cool. But then again, like, you can, like, I just liked how, yes, they kind of mocked a male archetype, but they did it lovingly. It was never mean, and he still had his cool moments. So you can, because of that, you can kind of step back and acknowledge. Yeah, I guess sometimes, like, like when I was young, I like to be boastful, and I was, so it's kind of like, yeah, it is a thing that it happens, that guys do, like, but because it wasn't done with hate, it wasn't done with dislike, it was done with love. It was actually, I could acknowledge it, I could embrace it, I could have fun with it,
and because they were having fun with it too. Like, Seahawk is an incredibly fun character.
Yes.
And it shows, and it's infectious.
Like, every time he showed up in an episode, I was like, yes. Yeah. And Mermista was a good balance to him as well. Like, they were not like the same character at all, like, so they.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny how he wears her down, not in a negative way. I shouldn't have expressed it like that. But he kind of like, she ends up really enjoying his presence, even though she finds him so annoying at first.
Yeah.
And but they are together nevertheless. So how annoying does she really find him? And but I just found that, like, it's kind of like, yeah, the kind of character who really believes in himself. No matter, look, there's the thing about guys where we're very confident, okay, and maybe something when we shouldn't. It's a thing. Like, ask any. I love martial arts. Guys who don't train have this overinflated notion of how good they do in an actual fight. It is, and as soon as you go out drinking, you'll see it, and you're like, dude, you're not who you think you are.
Yeah, you've never thrown a punch in your life.
Oh, I heard it somewhere else. You're not who you think you are. Like, I don't know who said it. It's not from me, but it's true. But then again, he also was cool. He also did stuff. It's not because he had this flaw it meant he couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
So it was just a perfect balance of acknowledging this kind of personality trait. And I don't even know if I should, like, these days I feel like it's even kind of dangerous on both sides of the spectrum of viewers to acknowledge a male character trait, I guess, a male personality trait. I don't know, but it is, okay?
Yeah, you need to get on the better parts of the internet.
But it just felt like this kind of character that, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And then Bo, being this young adventurer, seeing this boastful guy, like he's like, oh, I totally want to be like him, and it makes.
I love their interactions.
Yes.
Because like he is a role model. He's a very different, especially you meet Bo's dads, right? And Bo's dads are like the librarians. They're very quiet.
True.
They have toilet tattooed on their arm, and like compare that to Seahawk, and this is like a completely different kind of guy than what Bo had growing up. And like I do think you idealize people who are different than what you know growing up. It's like, this is new, this is amazing, this is exciting, this is like, I wanted to go on an adventure because I grew up in a library, and like this person is setting boats on fire and singing sea shanties and has a mustache. Like, oh my God.
Bo had a mustache in the original show. Yeah, and I feel like it's okay. Let's see. The video is already being a bit too long. Let's try to.
Okay, yeah.
We're doing a disservice to Bo here. We have to go into Bo. That character was really cool, and I love how they acknowledged like the old. They did, like, talk about modernizing a concept. By all means, they should have gotten rid of like the belly button out, like the.
Oh, but they embraced it. They embraced it. Yeah.
And he has a heart, and you know, like, okay, so this is gonna sound funny, like, I don't even know, and maybe you'll tell me, I don't know if they implied any sexual orientation for Bo.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either, but then again, I didn't think so for, I thought Mermista and Seahawk were just like, oh, straight, and then you implied, you said, well, there's an implication, okay. So I was checking with you, basically.
Yeah.
So they don't address it, and that's fine, like, but what I mean to say is, you know what? How do you explain a guy who goes around with a heart on his chest? And first of all, it's actually, he does wear his heart on his chest, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
But also, you can kind of look at it and, well, okay, he has two parents who are two gay men, so yeah, he's not going to be the type of guy who is going to feel uncomfortable by showing something softer, maybe. And maybe, again, I may be generalizing, but when you look at his parents, and what I mean to say is, like, I think he's comfortable with himself, and no matter, you know, which direction he's going, in that sense, like, I think it makes sense for him to be really comfortable. Like, yeah, I'm gonna wear a heart on my emblem. So they didn't modernize it at all in that sense. They just embraced that. Yeah, he doesn't like to cover his belly button, and he wears a heart on his chest. That's it.
The scene at Princess Prom where he just like rips the thing.
That's when I got it. That's when I was like, the whole time I was like, they didn't change that? Okay. You know, I was just going along with it.
Yeah.
And when he does that, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And there's many times he's like uncomfortable, and I was like, okay, they just, you know, they weren't like, that's how he dresses, that's how he's gonna dress.
That's how he's gonna dress.
And I guess you could argue a counterpoint to the chainmail bikini, right?
I mean, I don't think like a belly is
Not
anywhere near like the same. Like, if like Adora or Glimmer had that outfit, I think it would be fine too. You know, like that wouldn't be weird. Like, that's just a look.
Do you think people would have complained if She-Ra?
Do I think people would have complained? The answer is yes. It doesn't matter what the question is.
Okay, fair enough. that's fair. Okay, let's try to speed run through the other princesses. Okay. Because you know what, we're running out of time, and at this point, I think we're gonna film Masters in our day. But which changes nothing for people watching the videos after. I'm not gonna edit this out, too lazy. Okay, now you know what, I should Google this first, but I'm just gonna bring up what I think I read at some point. Perfuma
Mhm.
I think she was intended by Noelle to be a transgender woman.
I've heard that as well. I don't know. Like I didn't particularly get that, but it could be like characters don't always have to.
I think it would have been. I think it would have
Yeah.
been nice. Because like the princesses of power. So in that world, you have to be a princess to have those powers, right?
Yeah.
And now, yes, my personal opinions on these matters, of course, will influence what I'm gonna say next. But I think it would have been nice to go like, yes, she's a woman, like, and again, I don't know if I don't know if the old show had Perfuma getting pregnant every episode or something that would completely contradict her character concept if they made her a trans woman.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not this politically correct guy. They're like, I don't think you can change every character in any direction and it will make sense, because sometimes it's going to completely change who the character is.
Mm-hmm.
But in my opinion, and this is going to be something that people will argue, but I don't think that grabbing a character who was cisgender in the original version and then making that character transgender, especially a side character, like it depends who you're doing it with. And again, I'm not being politically correct when I say that. This is my personal belief, like trans women or women, all that. I think it would have been nice to just state that yes, she could be a princess of power.
Not gonna argue with that.
No, I know. But and now, if that wasn't even the case, if that was just an internet rumor, we just went into this whole tangent that wasn't even like a thing. But yeah, I think it would have been nice, actually.
Yeah.
Unless in the original series, it was a big part of the character that she was getting pregnant like every 9 months.
Like constantly.
Yeah, and then it's like,
she gave birth to every tree in the forest.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, yeah. But yeah, I just think it would have been like nice to include that, because the show was making statements and representations, so you might as well go for it, right? If you're going to be that show, go for it. And I don't think it would have been forced.
No, I don't think so. I do wonder if it's one of those things that like maybe Noelle brought the idea forward and the studio was just like, no, we're putting the kibosh on that, like that's not happening. But I don't know either way.
Yeah, if we had more time left, I would actually Google it. I would think, but
yeah.
Okay, let's continue to speed run. Frosta.
She's a kid. Like I have no real strong opinions one or the other. She's definitely probably my least favorite princess.
Really?
But I don't dislike her. Just her character didn't do anything for me.
I really liked her.
That's good.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess because it's kind of like, when the small characters are acting all tough, I always get annoyed. Like, I freaking hated in Sabrina, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. What was his name? The transgender guy who was Sabrina's friend.
Oh yeah. I watched the first season a long time ago, but I know who you're talking about.
That dude is like super small, and he's always trying to act tough, and like, shut the fuck up. Someone else is gonna have to do the job for you. Don't be the one who instigates. So, like when you see a small character acting tough, like, yes, the economy is fun, but when you think about it 2 seconds, and like I would never hang around this like small dude who goes around picking fights with people, and then like his bigger friends have to help him.
Yeah.
No. What's cool about Frosta, you have the funny dichotomy of the small person acting tough, but she also can back it up.
Oh, very much so.
And that was cool, and I love like the big fist, and I just love that she's always like bringing out the fist, and I don't know, and maybe I'm.
No, that's like I definitely see the appeal of Frosta.
Yeah.
It just like doesn't appeal to me, but I'm like, yeah, no, I get it. Yeah.
But again, I guess what I mean to say with all of that setup is that, again, a character that I would normally hate, I loved in this show. Entrapta, Mermista, and Frosta would be characters who normally annoy me. And I love them.
Yeah.
So, but
because also, they're well written and like they make sense.
Yes.
And they're not mean. Like, Yeah.
And first, the voice acting was funny, I thought.
Oh yeah.
So that helped. I think another voice actor, maybe the character doesn't work. And also, I think it makes sense for, like you said, she's a kid with all that power. Of course, she's going to be that, like.
Of course.
Like,
and she becomes queen of her country at like 9 years old or whatever. Like the responsibility and all of that is there, and she's got to act tough because she's queen at 9 years old. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many characters I don't want us to skip. I wonder if we're gonna have to make a part 2. Let's continue. Maybe we have to do like more than 2 parts.
Yeah.
Okay, Spinnerella.
Should we do Spinnerella and Natasha at the same time?
Yes, please.
I really like them. Speaking of other, there is another canon gay couple, Spinnerella and Natasha.
Yeah, it's true. Okay.
And they're shown to be a couple in the beginning of season 1, incredibly powerful. And like, I kind of like how they're shown to be there at the beginning. They're at the council and all of that. And then you sort of like at least in season 1, you see them at the beginning and then you completely forget about them. And then they show up at the end again. They're like, oh yeah, you guys fought in the original war like 20 years ago. You were part of the original council. Like, you're kind of badass. And at the end, when I think it's Whirlwind Lady, I forget her name, Spinnerella, gets taken over by Horde Prime, and Natasha's just like, I'll break her ankle. I know my wife's weakness. I got this. I will fuck her up to bring her back to me. Like, and everyone else is like, oh, we gotta be careful. We gotta like still hurt them. And she's like, I will mess my wife up to get her back to me because I know that's what she will want, and I respect that.
You know what? You just like I kind of forgot about them, even though Spinnerella did like lots of like super powerful stuff when she was mind control and all that. I kind of forgot about them because you know we're doing this video. I haven't rewatched it for this video or anything, so it also speaks to what I remember being like real quality stuff that you get to remember. But now that you say that, I really appreciate that. That like I will mess her up to bring her back. Yeah, but that show had a lot of characters. I think at some point, like they were well served, but you can't like devote as much time. So again, like if I forgot a little bit about them, but it's true. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, they're incredibly minor background characters, but I think with the time that they have, you make the most of it.
Yeah. Okay, Castaspella. I don't even remember her.
Is that the and?
Maybe. You know what? We don't remember. We don't. That's it. Queen Angela. She's not dead.
She's not dead. I think she's a fine mom figure. Like, you get she's very powerful. She's worried about Glimmer going down the wrong path. She's sad about her husband, who is not dead also, but who she thinks is dead. Yeah, she serves as a foil for Glimmer, kind of.
Yeah, there's not much to say about her. I think exactly. Yeah. Her purpose is to have a contrast to Glimmer. Yeah, which she does, and it's fine. Yeah, like, the voice acting is good, but I don't have much to say about her. Like she's the contrast to what Glimmer hopes to become. So that's
and like she does that job very well. Yeah.
Vivian, we have so many characters to go through. I think this is gonna be enough part 1. Like there's gonna be more than 2 parts.
All right.
Look, we have like Madame Raz, Light Hope, Swiftwind.
Madame Raz might be my favorite character.
Horde Prime, we haven't really. We discussed Hordak. We haven't discussed. And Huntra is not on the list, but I remember Huntra.
Oh, Huntra's great.
Like she's a half-orc ranger, is what she is.
Yeah.
Okay. Look, or an orc, not half-orc. What I'm saying. Okay. I think we're gonna have to do a part 2.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I think like going through the characters and then like maybe the overall impression of how the show is handled and all that. I think this is a format to just kind of discuss the show through the characters because they were all interesting, and I think that speaks well to the show that we can discuss about the show that way, not about the events that happen, but about the characters that were doing stuff in it.
Yeah,
it was such good writing. It was such good writing. And yeah, it baffles me because like I was excited to have a Master of the Universe related show when that came out, and I kept hoping for a He-Man cameo, you know, like, and I was okay with if because it was Shiro's show, if they had treated him a little bit like Seahawk, make him this cheesy old cartoon hero, like I would have been fine with it, but that never happened, sadly, for me. you know, I wouldn't have wanted him to be there the whole season because it's Shira's show, but you know, to have him cameo 1 or 2 episodes.
Yeah, especially in like the last season when they're like in the universe and there's like the other like civil war going on or whatever, you know, like.
But I'd argue that's a bit too late to bring him on then, because now you have to conclude the show. I think it would have been fine.
I meant like sort of like a background cameo or something, or like a throwaway line or something like that.
I don't care about those. Everyone gets excited. Oh, I saw this in the background. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like, if you're gonna like, it's just like, you know, when shows do that, it's like they're getting cred because they showed something. Like, nah, whatever. Like, I mean, if you like it, that's fine. I'm just speaking for myself. Like I never had a patience for Where's Waldo when I was a kid. So, but I would have liked maybe like mid-show. And then he can do like a quick cameo at the end. He's like showing up to help. You don't really put emphasis on him, but just to acknowledge that he was there, you know, like something like that. So I'm okay with him not showing up. I just mean that because there was no He-Man in sight, I was excited to see at least a glimpse of him, which ha ha ha.
My like, okay, I liked a lot of Masters of the Universe.
Yeah.
But my biggest, they did Adam dirty. Like,
yeah. We're not there yet. We haven't even finished She-Ra yet, Vivian. Okay, let's finish the video. We'll do a part 2, obviously, because at this point it's already like we're over an hour. This is ridiculous. All these characters. Yeah, it's that we have so much to say about so many characters is amazing. That's my take on it. And I would say right now, the writing in the show is superior to Revelations.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Like Noelle Stevenson is one of my favorite writers, though, so I'm definitely biased.
I wish they had brought her on for
Me too.
I really wish, because okay, whatever. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
We'll talk about it when we get there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Stopping the recording.